Hello, this is Michael with digitaltshirtshop.com. So I wanted to talk to you briefly about this Amazon worksheet. Um, this is something that I put together that follows the pattern of the Amazon payment screen. Basically, Amazon payment screen breaks everything down by the different charge or the different fee, and then breaks it down by a payment period, which tends to be about 14 days. For me, it's easier to have it all in a spreadsheet where I can see how it changes from period to period instead of having to come in here and actually toggle through all the different pay periods. So basically, I can come into here and I log in all the same information. Now, this is one that I use for a FBA selling account. Um, and you can see all the different charges all the way down to what was put into the bank and what type of a profit margin you made off of the product that you had sold on Amazon. So I left the FBA information in here. Now, this is not a large FBA seller account. I know some FBA sellers that sell millions of dollars a year on Amazon, and this account does not sell millions of dollars a year, uh, probably $100,000 a year. But anyways, this you can see how all the product charges relate to what was deposited in your bank account. So, for example, if I was to look at my current period on my seller account, I have this was a previous month charge and previous month payment, and then it goes into what my current sales were, Amazon fees, shipping fees, or I mean, this is actually shipping, collected shipping, and then minus what my seller account charges. Now, this only comes out one period, one of the two periods per month. Again, each period's about 14 days, so you'll have two per month. This will only come out one of them. And then I've got a total. In this case, it's a net negative, a net charge that they, at this point, they would charge me $13.55, and I would have had an expense instead of a revenue. Anyway, so all of that would fit right into my spreadsheet here, and I've gone ahead and I've logged those things in so far. My sales, my freight collected, my fees, my other seller account fee. And again, the month's not done, so I've not actually had a deposit, and I probably will not actually be totaling cost of goods sold on this sheet with this account, but with my seller account, I have. So if we were to look at one of these FBA accounts, for example, this particular period, we had sold $26.95 in sales, had $1,048 in fees. Now, these fees, if you think about how FBA works, FBA sales, um, you have your cost of what it cost you to buy the product. You have the cost to get it to you, cost to get it to Amazon, and then you have the seller fees. And then what you have is what it sells for. And you have and then basically what you're seeing on here is you're seeing what it sells for minus all their fees. Okay. But when you sell FBA, you got to take into account all of this. For example, if I have an item that it costs me $8 and it costs me 50 cents to get it to me, and it costs me 50 cents to get it to Amazon, and Amazon's fees are $4.50, my total cost is $13.50. I do not want to sell it below $13.50. And so I need to set up my account knowing all of that in advance so that I can ensure that I do not sell it below my break even point. And typically, what I would do is I'd build in a profit on that as well and not sell it below that profit point, and that profit point may be 50 cents, it may be a quarter, and maybe $2 or $3, depending on what the item is. One way to easily kind of gauge this is use an FBA tracker. Now, here's a product that I like called Duodots, and I know Duodots is not open for new Amazon sellers, but it's an item that I believe sells for around $15.99. So it is selling for $15.99. And I think the current cost on it is around $8. So if you think about it costing about $8, it costing 50 cents to get it to me, 50 cents to get it to Amazon. After your Amazon fees, you are only making $9.38 on that item. It's selling for $15.99. Amazon's only paying you $9.38. Now, which of those fees are coming out of your pocket? Well, the cost of the product, $8 is coming out of my product. So 9 minus 8, that leaves $1.38. If it's costing me 50 cents to get it from the manufacturer Duodot to me, well, that just whittled down to 88 cents that I have left. If it's costing me an additional 50 cents to get it from me to Amazon, my 88 cents became 38 cents. And if that were the case, if I was selling this product on Amazon, I would make 38 cents per unit that I sold it, after taking into account my cost, the cost to get it to me, the cost to get it to Amazon, and the Amazon fees. How do you make sure that you make money on a product like this? Well, there are a lot of products that are hard to make money on because a lot of people are competing on it because they see an opportunity because it's a great seller. Well, this great seller, or a great seller similar to this, you may have to sell thousands of units in order to make money on it. Well, or make a decent amount of money on it. Now, is it possible? It is possible. It is possible, but there are only so many bestsellers. And every bestseller, everybody sees it as an opportunity, as well as Amazon sees it as an opportunity. And Amazon will buy it and compete against you if they're capable of doing so, if the manufacturer will sell it to them. So you got to be very, very careful of those things. You got to watch if you decide to sell FBA on Amazon. I know this just shifted from me managing a tracker to selling FBA on Amazon, but I've sold quite a bit of FBA on Amazon. I'm very familiar with the process. I use something called Channel Max, which is this website right here, channelmax.net, to reprice my products on Amazon. Now, Channel Max is a great tool. You can link it to your Amazon account and it'll just go change the price every 15 minutes. It'll take into account how many sellers there are. It'll take into account if you have a floor or map pricing, a manufacturer floor for where suggested floor for where they won't allow you to sell under a certain price. It'll take into account all sorts of matrix that you put into it to push the price up, push the price down, and to where to stop repricing. But a tool like this is really, really helpful in that it will help you not sell below a point that you're going to lose money on it. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of other things that you need to take into account and consider. I was talking to somebody who does taxes about a woman that had come in because they knew I sold FBA, and so they were asking me about it. And this woman had been convinced to start an FBA account and start buying and selling product FBA on Amazon. And she got a repricing tool, and she was repricing the product, but you know what she was not taking into account? She was not taking into account her costs. What it cost her to get it, what it cost her to get it to Amazon, and what those Amazon fees were. And she lost an incredible amount of money on this venture that she went on the new big glorious idea of selling FBA on Amazon, because she wasn't watching her numbers and she didn't know how to watch her numbers. You gotta be very, very aware of those things. What are my costs? What is it costing it to get to me? What is it costing to get it to Amazon? And what is Amazon going to charge me? And then not sell below that floor. You gotta have a floor there that you're not going to sell it below. Now, Amazon is great in that it's the best example of supply and demand that I've ever seen actually really functioning and operating. If there's little supply, the price goes up, and your repricer will push that price up, push that price up, push that price up. And you can have things that typically you might sell for $10 that sell for 30, 40, 50, or $100 because it pushes it up, pushes it up. Nobody else is selling it. You're the only one that has it. Somebody wants it really bad and they'll buy it. It is also interesting in that almost nothing on Amazon is sold at retail. Amazon is the worst example of retail pricing that there ever has been. Now, are those things bad? No, they're not bad. Uh, you know, it's just what it is, but the way that it works and the way that it functions very well. It's a great example of a capitalist market. Now, if you look at, so we talked about the repricing, we talked about this right here, um, you know, tracking the Amazon sales, I think, is important, ensuring that you're making money. And that's one of the reasons for doing this is I can go all the way across here to my deposit. I can put in my cost of goods sold and I can see if I actually made money. Now, actually pulling that cost of goods sold out is a little more complicated than this. Oftentimes the way I've done it is I've had this in a separate spreadsheet. This is what I've got together for just tracking my digital t-shirt shop business. But what I would typically do is I would export or copy out all of my Amazon sales, and I would have a master sheet that had all my pricing on it, do a VLOOKUP and map all of my, and I know this might go over people's heads, but some people's heads, but then or you could do a pivot table to do the same thing. But I would go and I would match up every individual sale with its cost and then sum up the total costs of the product sales to come up with a cost of goods sold here. And then I can take my deposit minus my cost of goods sold and determine whether I made money. Now, the interesting thing with Amazon here is that this column right here, FBA fees, is actually a shipping fee. If I use Amazon inbound freight to ship product to Amazon's warehouse, that part of the fee already comes out before they pay me. So when I'm looking at my cost of goods sold, I'm looking at my cost on the product and my cost per unit to get that product to Amazon, not to Amazon, but to get it to me. So I've got two parts of it, the cost of the product, the cost to get it to me. Then right here, this has the cost to get it to Amazon and the cost that Amazon charges me for their fees in order to determine whether I made money or not. As complicated as that might be. So some other things to consider. One is, when shipping it to Amazon through Amazon Freight is far less expensive than shipping it yourself to Amazon through your own freight carrier. Unless you live next door to their warehouse, you could probably drop it off. And then just overall, I just can't stress enough, make sure that you're aware of what your costs are. Be aware of what your costs are. Control those costs. Make sure that you have a floor in there. If you decide to sell FBA, the FBA fees, if you look at all the Amazon fees all together, they do tend to be in the 30 to 40% of what your product sells for are going to Amazon fees. And probably more like the 40%. If I'm selling myself on Amazon, they really should tend to be closer to the 20%. So if I'm selling a t-shirt for $10, they should be closer to $2 in fees that I'm actually paying Amazon. So that's kind of how that all breaks down. And that gives you an idea of how I track this. What I'll try to do is I'll try to take a version of this and put it on the digitaltshirtshop.blogspot.com blog so that people can use it if they would like. but hopefully this actually helps. And hopefully those tips on selling Amazon FBA help too. Amazon is a funny beast. The FBA selling has become very, very fluid and dynamic and cutthroat, and there are a lot of sellers that are cutting out other, vendors selling and going exclusive with selling it themselves to Amazon, or being the sole seller on Amazon, or only selling through specific sellers on Amazon and restricting the number of people that are selling. And those things are all fine. That's kind of the nature of the business. And one of the problems is that so many people have been, in a way, almost abusing Amazon. And, for example, if you took a brick and mortar business that sells a product, and then everybody in the community knows they can go to that brick and mortar business and buy that product, and then all of a sudden other sellers come in and start selling it on Amazon and start selling it for 10, 20, 30% below what the brick and mortar store can sell it for. You're going to see a big shift in your customer base, going from purchasing that product from the brick and mortar store to buying it on Amazon. Likewise, if you see the manufacturer shift to selling it on Amazon, you're going to see a number of those. What typically the manufacturer would sell it to the brick and mortar store, and it helps the brick and mortar store. They cut out the brick and mortar store by going exclusive to selling it on Amazon. And then the brick and mortar store loses all those sales and doesn't even have the opportunity to compete against Amazon, or have an opportunity to sell that product because they're completely cut out. And it is just the nature of the business. It's just the nature of what's happening. It's a diverse and complex business, and Amazon is significantly changing that business. Um, and then there are a lot of people, and one of the reasons why a lot of those manufacturers are going and selling exclusive, or restricting the number of sellers, is because you have a lot of people who have come in and buy and sell for pennies on the dollar. So, for example, you might have somebody who comes in and competes against you and buys it based on this cost model right here, and will sell it literally for $13.50. And you look at it, and you're looking at your numbers, and you're looking at what they're selling it for, and you realize there's no way possible that they could be selling it for that price and actually making a profit off of it, or they're selling it for 13.02, or something like that, or 13.52. I meant, you know, there really isn't. They could have bought some of the product on a remainder market where they bought it below cost, where they bought it below, the regular cost. But there aren't always products on the remainder market that allow you to do that, and they change so frequently what's on a remainder market or a closeout market, that you don't have a lot of control over buying brand new product that's in pristine condition to be able to sell at FBA like this, and compete that aggressively on price. If it were me and I was buying a product that fit kind of this model, I would probably want to be able to sell it for $14. Not the 13.50. And I probably wouldn't sell it unless I could probably sell it for $14 on a floor. Um, and that's just the nature of how I see it. And so what I would do is, if there was an opportunity like this and everybody was selling it for 13.50, I'd pass on the opportunity. I would go and I'd look for another product that I could actually make money on. But that's just, I'm not that big of a risk taker that I would go and I would put all my money into selling something I can't make money on, or I'm not willing to compete that aggressively on making a few cents on something. So that's the kind of how I see this a little bit. I would really encourage anybody who's interested in FBA selling, really do your homework, really know what your costs are, use something that'll reprice your product and put that floor in there. You don't have the time to go in every day and reprice all your products you're selling unless maybe you have 5 or 10 products. But once you get up to hundreds of products, it becomes extremely difficult to manage repricing those products. Um, and just ensure that you're doing it in a way that you make money. One other thing that I would say is build up. Don't go in real aggressively to start with. It's probably better to start with threes and sixes than to go in with 50 and 100 units of a product, not knowing whether you're actually going to turn those items or not. Amazon, uh, once you hit 60 days, will start charging you long-term storage, and your cost on that product is going to go up drastically because of those extra carrying costs because you're not flipping your product rapidly. If you start low, bringing in 3 or 6 units, and you flip those and determine how, and then increase it and determine what a regular 30-day supply is, you can order based on a 30 or 60-day supply and ensure that you're going to be flipping that product regularly. And then you're not going to be put in a situation where you're going to be left with 100 units that end up with long-term storage fees. In that case, you paid a lot of money to get the product to Amazon. You start assessing those, accruing those long-term storage fees, and then you want to pull the product out because it's not selling and you're getting all these long-term storage fees. And then you get all of the freight fees to have it shipped back to you. And it's not even equal to the same freight fee of you shipping it to Amazon. When you ship your 100 to Amazon, Amazon probably turned around and divvied the 100 up to 5 different warehouses. So you're paying fees to have 5 different warehouses ship them back to you from 5 different places across the country. Um, so it's really easy to accrue a lot of additional fees by, again, not managing the volume of product that you're sending to Amazon as well. I feel that, going into FBA, know what sells well, know where opportunities are, start low, build it up to where you're maximizing the sales and flipping your product every 30 days on Amazon so you don't even come close to accruing those long-term storage fees. So those are the things I would suggest. Take them or leave them. It's just my experience, my knowledge that I've gained over the years selling FBA on Amazon, and good luck.